Welcome back, everybody, to Aces53 with Ed Parcaut and myself. And today is a Thursday. So what does Thursday mean? We have another Joker. So for people who haven't listened before, what is a Joker? A Joker is someone with a special skill or talent that we want to bring to y'all, mainly because we want to learn about it at the exact same time. But one of the things that we talked about on Tuesday this week was an event I attended last weekend out in Rockwall, Texas. It was a 3-day event. And it was to learn more about the speaking industry, because while I've had coaches and I've been doing this the last 2 years, there's so much that's unknown. And so I was able to get in a room with our Joker today, which is Christa. So we'll go here. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
I think this is my first time as a Joker.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Well, so I probably didn't give you the rundown before, but Ed, do you want to go over Aces53?
Yeah, so when I was in college and learning sales, one of my instructors says, remember 4 aces and a Joker. Attitude, commitment, enthusiasm, smile is what you bring to the table in sales. The Joker is that unique ability you have either naturally or something you've learned. And so for me, I didn't realize when I sold by the phone for 18 years, I had a deep voice. And then I realized that why I did so well by the phone because of my voice. And
what
so
do
that's
we call that, Brian? We call that an obvious advantage.
That's exactly right.
That's a Joker.
That's a Joker.
My unique ability.
Yeah. That is your unique ability. I like it. Well, it's nice to be here. Thanks, guys.
Of course. So kind of like
hold on. The reason it's Aces53 is because the 53rd card in the deck is the first Joker.
Right.
Okay.
Now that you know everything.
I know, and I'm committing it to memory in case there is a quiz or maybe a prize or something. No?
There's mainly just trash talking. There's no quizzes.
Okay, well,
later on, it'll be remember that time, but that'll be about it.
Okay.
All right. So earlier in the week, Brian bragged so much about how he went to, he always does. He name drops and all this stuff. And he's like, this event I went to last week.
That's crazy. Amazing. I don't do stuff like that.
There were agency speakers and all this stuff. And so he wanted to, we talked about it on Tuesday, and I thought it'd be good to have you as a Joker this week. And I appreciate he was able to get you on.
Yeah, this is cool. This is very fun. So I love it. Just, I'm an open book, or I'm on the cover of a book, either one. So
both,
what do you need to know?
We'll go like that again. We'll just kind of slowly dance it across the screen.
All right. First I got a question. How did you get into, were you a speaker?
No. Well, I mean, maybe if you count standing in front of a classroom full of kids, I was a speaker, but yeah, exactly. So I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada, home of the greatest hockey team on the planet. That breaks my heart every spring. Not this year. It's our year. Here we go again. So we moved from Edmonton to Dallas so that my kid's dad could get his master's here. And I actually have family here. So we thought it actually, and Brian, you don't know this part of the story. Since we have time, I'll tell you this. So I was teaching elementary music there and had like an elementary music degree and an arts degree in music and theology. And so I was like, this was my track. Okay, this is what I was going to do. And then, had family moved to Dallas, and Dallas is a lot warmer than Edmonton. I don't know if you've ever heard of the weather in Edmonton. Yeah. But my birthday is July 6th, and it has snowed on my birthday.
Oh, wow.
By the way, I'm July 7th. I knew I liked you.
Oh my God. We're almost twins. Okay.
I was a little nervous. Do we make you nervous? Did you have to bring in your emotional support animal there?
No.
Oh, geez, I just see the tail every once in a while.
I know. Well, it's just, man, okay. So like my kids, they grew up and they're gone. Like they're at college, right?
Yep.
And then the dogs are like, oh, you know what we should do is become toddlers for her. So now I have to manage a dog. So he hears me talking and goes, you know what I should do is participate.
That's
so
right.
He comes up, and so she's very sweet. But
that's okay. I have American Bully right here snoring, so we're in the same boat. You just can't hear it with my mic. That's why I have this.
Yeah, I know you guys have fancy mics. I get this mic. But anyway, so
if you want an equipment list, I can send you an equipment list for my book that I'm working on. So
I kind of want it.
All right, I'll send it to you. You send me that book, I'll send you my list.
I didn't know there was a give and take here. All right. Give me your address.
People in radio. Jeez.
Such takers.
No, because I guarantee she's going to be on my podcast, Inner Edison. So in order to be on that, and if you have a book, I want the book ahead of time so I can read it so we can talk about it.
Yes. In fact, I would offer to send you the book anyway. So We're just sparring is what we're doing.
Is
Ridiculously
that
sparring.
what this is? Is that what we've been doing, Brian, this whole time?
You let me know
I
when you
think
want to hear
so.
the end of the story. You just let me know.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you
Ed
were,
interrupted like he always
actually,
does.
no, you were talking about a support animal and you took her off topic.
It was birthdays, but yes. Okay.
So I have 2 older brothers, and this is not unlike, hey, do you remember, Brian, when I was talking about like how you have to like learn how to like, I had to jump in. I come from an Irish Italian family, and I had to learn how to just seize my opportunity. So that's any good hook for a song or a punchline. And it's actually a good speaking hook, but that's a spoiler. I don't want to take you there yet. Are you ready for the end of the story, how I got here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so abusive. Anyway. All right. Where was I? It was cold in Edmonton. It was a very, very cold
snowed on your
day in
birthday.
Edmonton.
Right. Music theory.
You had to cry because you couldn't go outside. Something.
I had to cry because I couldn't get into America as a teacher. That's a part of the story that I hadn't told Brian yet. So I had quit my job, like teaching job, and applied for a bunch of schools here in Dallas, and none of them could get me in the country on the NAFTA as it was as a teacher. So it was very painful. We had sold all our stuff, and my brother, who is a professional speaker, he's a Hall of Fame speaker now in 2 countries. He was in the 1992 Winter Olympics as a speed skier, Vince Pacenti. So he was a speaker, and he met a woman who owned a speakers bureau, met and married her. And so that's the reason he was in Dallas. And so they came up to Edmonton for Canadian Thanksgiving, and she remembers it was cold. It's in October, not even November. And she was hearing about this whole plight about not being able to get to the States for these teaching jobs. And we were just stuck. We're not sure what we're going to do. So she gets back to Dallas, and she says, she calls me and she goes, hey, listen, I just fired somebody. I think I can get you here on like your education as a management consultant, and you can work for me. And a week later, I was in Dallas working for my sister-in-law at a speakers bureau. And listen, like hearing your guys' conversation about, well, what's the speakers bureau? It's like this. I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't know what a speaker was. I was coming from Canada. I knew none of like the sports icons, still really don't, in fairness. But I didn't know like how to pronounce Colin Powell, which I think is odd to say Colin. You choose that? Or is it Colin? You chose Colin? Anyway. So I moved to America with no sales experience, no understanding what a speaker really did or was, outside of, you guys were talking about Tony Robbins, outside of Tony Robbins or Zig Ziglar. I'd heard about those guys. And so I had to learn my own way to figure all this stuff out. And I did. So I did well. I was at a speakers bureau for 10 years and ended up selling speakers to people who need them. Basically, I just found out that event planners look for speakers, and speakers bureau want to find those event planners so that they can sell them the speakers. And that's what I did for 10 years. And so it's old fashioned.
It's a little bit of a teaser, and it's in your book. But what do you call that drive to figure things out?
Well, that would be my obvious advantage, right?
Yeah. And then you have it. Was it FOS or what was there was a 3-letter acronym in the book. I can find it.
FSO.
FSO, there you go.
So a lot of people are the CEO or the COO or, whatever, like, whatever certified financial. I'm this FSO. I'm the figure stuff out girl, but I don't always say stuff.
Nah, we don't usually. Yeah, 4-letter words are way more fun.
Yeah. So I'm the figure shit out.
All right. So you did that for 10 years. And during that period of time, what was the biggest takeaway that you saw, the difference that finally was like, oh, I really get this kind of thing?
It was really nice kind of coming in, with no sales experience and not really understanding how to make this happen, but also being on 100% commission and not like wanting to starve and enjoying food. So I had to figure out my own way to sell speakers. And the way I did it ended up being just what came naturally to me. And it was, I just found the hook for the speaker and then reverse engineered it into the event planner's need. So if the event planner came to me and said, we need, let's just say we need a team building speaker and we have a group of accountants, 75 accountants, and it's at a retreat or whatever, So I can say, okay, I can think of maybe an accountant. Like I know a speaker who's an accountant. Okay, in this price range. So I contact that speaker. I'm like, is there anything in your presentation about team building? Oh yeah, we could do this. And so I would reverse engineer into it. It would just seem like a slam dunk every time. Like, how do you keep finding these people? Mm-hmm. And it was just matchmaking at the highest level. So I'd book, 5, 7,500 at that time. It was a lot of 5,000, 7,500, $10,000 speakers. Like they called me Queen of the Nickels. And I was the top producer 8 of the 10 years by booking mm-hmm. the lowest end speakers, because I was able to make an easy match for people, mm-hmm. and when it's higher end, like a John Maxwell or something, it's just more complicated. So I just really love, Brian will know this about me already after just knowing me a little bit, but I just really like to help people. And I knew mm-hmm. the ones in the lower price ranges just really needed the help. And then the speakers who were building a career at 5, 7,500, if I brought them anything, they'd be so grateful. So I just love doing it. So that's what I did for 10 years. And then I went on to the management side. So speaker management, which is where I am now. And in 2009, I started C Agency, which is what I still run and operate, and am still in love with the job because I get to create my own everything. It's really cool. So I manage speakers. So I represent them kind of as an agent. I'm 100% agent, 100% manager. So I make sure, so I built my whole agency on this reverse engineering concept, making sure that speakers' brands are what I call bookable. And that is just an obvious advantage to have, but it has the potential to make a lot of speakers very successful and very wealthy. And so that's what I've been doing with my life for the last 16 years.
Now, do you do it all over the country or just in certain areas?
I don't have to leave my desk if I don't want to.
No, not about the speakers. Do you book them?
Oh, anywhere. Yeah, there's the speakers internationally in like Australia and stuff, they have a real hunger for getting into the American market, and same with Canadian speakers. It's harder. It's different. So our price point here in the States, Brian, I don't know if you know this, but it's got to be like twice as much. Gosh, if not more. The price point, yeah. So speakers in Canada making 5, they're making 10 here. So the speakers are very interested in getting here, but it is a bloodbath here right now. It is so competitive. It's wildly competitive. Yeah.
You mean for speakers to get on the stages? Mm-hmm. And by the way, hold on, Brian, that's all you got to do next time. You don't have to put
murder someone. I'm not doing that. You find out who booked a gig and make them disappear. Oh, I heard you have an opening. It's just chloroform. I'm sure they'll be fine sooner.
All right. So would you say it's more competitive right now because of the fact there's less events going on? Is that what you're seeing? Or is it just more people wanting to learn out there trying to speak and make a living at it?
Statistically, or whatever, the numbers tell us, the studies tell us there's actually more events, but they're smaller. So that is one thing that 2020 did. You have more smaller events, like the big mega events aren't as common. Brian, you probably saw on LinkedIn that one of my speakers, and on Instagram too, that he just did an arena, which, that was a welcome sight.
Well, you got to tell the story behind it. It wasn't just that they spoke in an arena, but tell the background story.
Well, here's how great of an agent I was. I didn't even know that was happening. So I didn't get that information on the front side. And then the logistics come around, and it was Colonial Life. So Justin spoke for Colonial Life, and they have their own arena. So then he posts a story from it. And I'm like, you just spoke in an arena. A little heads up would be great, but it didn't matter. I mean, as long as he gets the footage and I get to post about it after. And I was just really happy for him, because for any speaker, right? That's just such a great moment. I used to.
But wasn't the background that you set him up in 2009 or 2011? It was a slow build.
Oh, so that's a different speaker actually. But so this is, so you're talking about Doc Henley.
Yes.
Yeah. So I started C Agency in 2009, and I use Doc as an example a lot just because we've been together since that time. But so I started C Agency 2009. I started repping a few speakers. By the way, this is actually full circle, Brian. I was repping Joel Zeff, and we had him up for a deal with John Deere It was about to happen. And then I got the call from, I was actually an event producer, and he's like, sorry, they've gone with someone named Doc Henley. And of course I was like, who the is Doc Henley? Like, I went, what, how did we lose this? And so I go online. I want to be all mad. I'm mad. You didn't book my speaker. He can't be any good. And 20 minutes later, I'm sobbing because this guy, he was a 2009 CNN hero and the founder of an organization called Wine to Water, who is providing clean water and sanitation to people around the world. So back then, it was still quite the seedling of an organization. Like, I don't know how many countries they were in outside of the States or outside of a couple of countries. Like, in 2004, he went to Sudan and was in a extremely dangerous place for a year, and just did that because he had played music and raised some money for clean water in a couple places. And Samaritan's Purse said, just keep your money, you go do some good work yourself. And he said, send me to the most dangerous place there is, because if it's awful, then I can at least make a difference. Because he knew how to fix motorcycles, he didn't know how to dig wells or anything. So this tattooed Harley riding bartender went over to the Sudan and helped fix and dig wells. And then it was some horrible stuff. Like, the rebels came in and shot up these camps, and 100,000 people died, where he was like absolute genocide stuff, right? Where he was working, really terrible stuff. So he came back and didn't want to do it anymore, met his wife. She told him, you have to. And so he founded Wine to Water. So I'm going to just skip forward. So skip forward. I lose a booking to this guy, and I go to his organization website, and I'm like, clearly he knows nothing about the speaking industry. A, I'd love to rep him, but B, I'd love to help him. Like, I don't want him getting eaten up by another big bureau. And actually, there was a big bureau, like Washington Speakers Bureau had reached out to him when I sent him a message on Facebook. So he called me out of the blue, and an hour and a half later, he's like, would it be cool if you repped me? I'm like, very. So that was December 2009. And then the hard work began to build something out of nothing. Like, this guy didn't have a video. Oh my God. He had nothing, Brian. He had nothing. Like, I produced his first video on my little rinky-dink laptop on my lap. And got him interviews and got him, when I say I built him from the ground up, it was a speaking brand that had nothing to it. But, pulled a favor with a video producer, and he made a really nice video for me, and got him some gigs. And then, so I got him into the National Speakers Association event in 2011. I think it was 2011. And the guy who was at NSA, I've kept in touch with him this whole time. He's now at a different company, and he, a year ago, booked Doc to speak. And so what is that, like 14, 15 years? Yeah. So this industry takes a long time. So that was another long road to a small house. But that's just the point, that when you want to be a speaker, it just takes a long time. But that's a good thing. Like, it keeps growing. It's like, it's perennial. There's
a lot of misinformation out there. We talked about it on Tuesday. The average speaker from first 2 years makes $48,000 a year if they're lucky. If they're getting started. Yeah. But they don't see that. People see all this marketing of, be a speaker and be like blah, blah, blah. And everybody thinks you're going to just start instantly be a millionaire. And that's not the way it is. There's
the threshold to entry. It's so low to get into this industry. So, yeah, for sure.
Let's go. So you want somebody who's been doing it for at least 10 years. That's because it takes a while to be good at talking on stage.
Yeah. And that's actually, it's amazing to meet people who are in their first few years. And actually, there were some speakers at the event, which I was very surprised to learn. I think there's a bunch of paradigm shifting. There's a lot of things being disrupted right now by the quick start speaker in a box technology boom that we're seeing right now. Like, you can just put yourself to market and make yourself look like you've got a brand. But it's very interesting. I don't know. I think the access to information isn't a bad thing, and the access to technology isn't a bad thing. I worry about the nuances without a really good support network around. Like, I even was talking to one of the speakers this week, and I just said, I don't know if you need management like me, like a person like me. I don't know if you need a manager, but I think you need a I think you need someone to go to, like maybe a mentor, or it's like, it doesn't have to be me, but like use me as a touch point. That's like once a month. Like, let's book a consulting call and ask me your questions, like, or every 2 weeks or something. Cause I think without that, you can get yourself in some pretty hot water by stepping into it, like by just doing the wrong thing with a bureau or an event planner or on stage, or and you don't know what you don't know. So yeah.
So the only people that don't take that long to get on stage are athletes, right? I mean, because they're on stage as soon as they're done with their ball playing, right?
Right.
They have something behind them that got them there.
It's the celebrities. It can be a celebrity in anything. You can be a celebrity CEO. You can be an athlete. The athlete is really the quickest road to get there, but it is the least interesting thing on the planet to me. Yep. I couldn't be less interested, which is funny. And I actually rep Olympians and athletes, but if that's the only reason you're on stage, that is so boring to me. And I just don't know why you're there.
I do like that you go.
Just got a bunch of emails.
Yeah. Like Alex Hormozy approach is kind of what you have. And that is you tell people, hey, I'm not ready to work with you yet, but you give them tools to help them go. Yeah. So like Alex put out $100 million offers, $100 million sales. And he just says, hey, when you reach 3 million, reach out to me and I'll work with you. And that's one of the things I appreciate is in your book here, Bookable Speaker, right, that we talked about, is it is not just a rah-rah book of speaking is the best thing ever. It's full of tactical and practical information. And then you're allowing people to schedule consultations. So it's not like, hey, I'm taking you on, but I can help you move farther along so you can keep coming back, and then when they're ready and reach a certain threshold, then they can work with you versus just, there's a lot of people go, nope, not my speed, move along. But I like the bread trail that you're helping to provide speakers with. And if they make it through the duration and they get traction, then you're there for them at just different levels along the way. And that's what I thought was impressive about your event.
That just makes my heart sing, because that's exactly it. And that's why that book was a labor of love. Like, I mean, there's one other agent who wrote a book back in I think 2006 or something, but there's a real vacuum for information at low threshold information. Like my book's $25. You don't have to sign up for these multi-$1,000 courses. Now, I mean, listen, these courses have value though. I'm not throwing shade at all, but it is something, it just lowers the barrier to entry. And it's so good for even if you have just a passing interest in the speaking industry, you can kind of see oh, this is what's involved in getting there. And I tried to make it interesting, at least with stories and, different things about my speakers or different ways that I've seen things go right or wrong, just to keep it entertaining. It's not an encyclopedia. It's not a user's, what do you call it? A user's manual when you get a car. So, but yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm very happy with how the book turned out, and I'm shocked at how well it's selling. I was honestly, I was like, oh, I only know a certain limited number of speakers, they'll buy it. And then I'll be nice to show my kids one day. And I'm like, I sell books every day. I don't know who I'm selling these books to.
Well, I did a post about it the other day. One of the things that really impressed me was when you get to the back, it's like, by the way, here's a bunch of other books that I really recommend about speaking. Most people are like, here's everything else I offer if you make it to the end of my book. And instead, you went with the approach of here are other books that people can learn from at the exact same time.
How dumb would I have to be to think, please, so here's everything I know, and you should come back to me for some more. I don't know everything. I just know everything I know from the last 27 years. And I mean, there's people who know different things than I do. Like you mentioned, Steal the Show by Michael Port. That's from a completely different angle. And I don't know how to say his last name, but I think it's Ganino. Mike Ganino has a new book out on, I think it's on presentation skills. And I'm super excited to see the impact that he's going to have, because he's been doing this a long time. So, my other emotional support guys here, I have two.
Yeah. So you listen here. I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You've got over 20 books that you're recommending by other people. that are in here. So Wired for Story, Resonate, and then you've got public speaking, communication podcasts people should check out. And you even list competitors to a degree, like Grant Baldwin's, the Speaker Lab. And, it was impressive about that because, like I said, most people are get to the back of my book so you can see what other crap I sell. And it was a nice difference.
I've never been good at the downline or the funnel or whatever you want to call it. Like, I've just never been good at it, And if I was better, I'd probably be broadcasting with a fancy microphone too.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm on.
Well, we could get you there.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get there.
I want to go to there. Please take me.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, keep my information. I can get you there. It's
Okay.
easy.
Perfect. I need it.
Yeah. It's like what's easy for you with helping speakers. This is so easy for me. And it wasn't in the beginning. I mean, I got on air live radio. When you messed up, everybody knew you messed up. 51 to 71,000 listeners knew that you were messed up. And I tell it, and everybody asks me, why are you doing so many lives? Why are you doing so many? To get good at it. So I don't care anymore. And when you mean by don't care, you don't care to make a mistake. That's okay. We mess up all the time. We can't say a word. We make fun of each other because we can't. But that's just how we are. That's how you get going. You don't care anymore. It's like when Brian was on stages, and this is not a knock to Brian, but when we first met him, there were certain words he said. We had drinking games.
So.
And I don't get me wrong. I had things too, or I forget. Basically was my word. Basically was my word. Yeah. It's just like other people who go on the podcast. They'll say something. They'll go right. And it's like, there's another word you're not supposed to say.
I all three of those. That's a drinking game for me. I say the Canadians, we go, so like we finish sentences that way. Like, why are you doing that? So I physically just go like not to say so, like to fill it in because I'm uncomfortable. I'll be like, right, right.
Yeah.
At least I'm not saying a.
But the problem with right is that you're not supposed to say that either because you're trying to get them to agree with you. Yeah. And that's on you. I'm just saying people don't understand this stuff and they need to understand it. And over time, by doing it, you finally learn not to go, and people ask me, do you take those things out of your podcast? No, you have to learn not to do them. Because I saw myself on someone's podcast early on and I'm sitting there and you see this, right? What did you take out? What did you edit out of the thing that I said that you didn't like? It's a smooth trend. You don't want to have that because then
you don't want to look like Tourette's.
Yeah. Well, I thought you had a spasm. I was like,
well, no, it's just
max headroom.
Max
headroom. What?
Exactly. All right. We're old now.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. So
what would you? Somebody who wants to be a speaker.
She went from the bureau, but you didn't really get into starting your agency.
That's fair. Yeah.
She went from the bureau and then she has her agency.
I kind of skipped over. I did kind of skip over it. I did have aspirations of, and here's the rough transition from leaving the Speakers Bureau to starting a management company was I saw, and it's all full circle. Let me just say, I saw myself in a much more consultative way when I wanted to start the management company. And because I saw speakers who were just getting in their own way of bookings. And I thought if I could just help them remove these barriers, they would be so successful. But before I got to that point, I knew there was a vacuum in the industry of celebrities who branded and marketed themselves well. And celebrities were the worst. They still kind of are as far as making themselves, easy to book. Just like an easy booking, right? And I thought, okay, right, there it is. So making themselves an easy booking. Anyway, it's impossible. I'm not a professional like you. I can't do it.
You don't have to be. You just have to be aware you're doing it. That's it.
So ever so aware right now. Okay, I know I'm fine.
Well, and the reason we brought you back to answering that question is a lot of the audience are people who are either wanting to leave corporate America or they're early on in starting a business. Yeah. And you were working for a company and you were very successful. 8 out of 10 years, you were winning the highest award. That stepping out must have been scary as shit.
It was, yeah. And I worked for my sister-in-law and it was not a popular decision. Let me just say that. And
you're leaving me to be my competition.
That was the sentiment. However, it was very much in my heart was to become more consultative and I really wanted to build a place for celebrities to get booked. And I learned pretty quickly. And so I worked with some celebrities for their speaking stuff. But I learned quickly that celebrities know how to sign the back of checks, not the front of checks. So I made no money at that and took on some speakers. True story. Yes. So I took on some speakers. One of those was Joel Zeff, who actually emceed our event. He's emceed all 3 of the Bookable speakers events. He won't be at the May one, unfortunately. But yes. So I repped some speakers, and it was, Joel already had a very successful career, but I was able to get him better bookings at bigger fees, which is what a good agent does, and make the whole thing a little more seamless for him. I built some colossally huge speakers. It was very fun. Just by putting their brand together in a way that I knew buyers buy, as simple as that. Like, I made them easy to book. And instead of making it so freaking complicated, speakers, my God, speakers want things to be complicated. Oh, it's like, I have so much to say. And you look at their one sheet and it's just eyewash of, it's just, please, like, if it's, they say, if a 6-year-old, what is that? If a 6-year-old can't explain your brand, it's too complicated.
Right.
And really and I just think it's actually probably down to 4 years old now with how dumb we're all getting. But that's what I did. I made it an easy booking, and I saw speakers' brands just hockey stick growth. It was very cool. I'd launch them and they'd start getting bookings, and 400% growth in the first year. Usually it was just awesome. And so I built a very, very successful agency for several years, and things started shifting really hard. And I had to rebuild my roster in 2017 because people do bad things when they get too much fame and too many standing ovations. Shall we not fill in the blanks here?
Yeah.
So I had to rebuild my agency.
That might be in your book.
Had to start over, actually, and you met Kurt Steinhorst, Brian. He seeded my roster. He introduced me to Justin Forsett. He was like, he was managing speakers. He said, I'm just going to go full-time speaker. Now he's a successful speaker, but he said, would you like to manage the speakers that I have? I'm like, yes, because I had nothing. Like, I had Doc and I had Byron. They stuck with me. So that was catastrophic, but rebuilding it in a whole new world. And I didn't realize it was a new world, or it was radically shifting. And then technology came around, and I don't know, things have changed. The access to speakers has changed. And then COVID just was just a freaking blow dart to the jugular, done. None of my speakers, they didn't do any virtual. So my income dried up for 2.5 years.
Yeah. Oof.
Wow.
Yeesh.
I know how that feels, because that's how it's been for the last 2 years for me.
Has it?
Yeah, because I'm in the mortgage industry. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, the positive thing is I finally realized that it happened to me or for me, and it happened for me to get my other stuff out of the way.
Exactly.
How funny. That's exactly what I said in 2017. I said, this didn't happen to me. It happened for me. And it really was the most painful thing that ever happened to me.
For a year.
You were what?
I was very pissed for a year. I was very upset because some stupid person signed an executive order and destroyed our industry just because they didn't want certain things. And I knew that was going to happen. Well, and it took, a few years to get there. Long story short, I was going by my computer to do something, and Steve Sims was on there about one of his friends, how he said that. He was like, and he had issues that most people couldn't deal with. And he's like, I always ask myself if this has happened to me or for me. And I was like, fuck.
You're like, that's me.
And so then I started making changes and doing a lot of different other things, still in the industry, but just made some changes, and it's helped out. We're nowhere close, and we're nowhere close to being where we need to be, but I'm trying to do so many other things now because other opportunities have come up.
Well, one of the things that she talked about in her training is what you talked about, and that is you can't be everything to everyone. So one of the problems that you'd mentioned at the Bookable Speakers event was when people go, well, I can speak to everyone. And that doesn't help anyone get booked because people want strategic speakers for certain events.
Right.
You want to be the speaker that is known for the thing that the core and the center of your being. And a lot of speakers will want to be known for a topic that they pick out of thin air and then read every book on. and then become the expert on that topic. And there's a disingenuousness, I don't know. It just is fake. Let's put it that way. And you can feel it. There are people who know a lot about energy who could probably explain this to me or the three of us. There's an energy there. It's like a repulsive force field when someone is faking it, when it doesn't come from the core of their being. And I know this firsthand. Like, I know very well, you said, you were doing really well at the Speakers Bureau. I was miserable. And I mean miserable, because I was pushing that hard because I was on a 100% commission job, married to a spouse that didn't work, and had 2 babies with no health insurance. I was terrified all the time of not making money and not feeding myself and my family. So my motivation was push. It was fear. It was push motivation. And it wasn't until COVID, honestly, until 2020, when the bottom completely fell out. I mean, 2017 sucked, but 2020 was like, holy crap. I was working 4 different jobs, and I was bartending at my neighborhood, the yacht club in my neighborhood. I was bartending for my neighbors. I was climbing roofs and knocking doors, roofing. I was selling gym memberships. And there's always a 4th one, I forget. But
you told us one.
I know. I told you. Probably blocking it out. I don't think it was illegal. But anyway.
No, it wasn't Uber. It was
selling pictures of your feet. Is that what it was?
It wasn't that. No. I've never understood that. But anyway.
I have no idea either. I just hear people make money at doing it.
I'm like, ooh, I don't think that's a revenue.
No wonder you forgot.
No kidding. No, there was a 4th one that was very strange.
I'm looking over my notes to see if I wrote it
I know what
down.
it is. I know what it was. It was I started a company.
That's right. Yes.
I started a company for sanitizing establishments, so they were C21 certified. So had a whole checklist of what you have to do to be certified. Then you could put the sticker on the door. And I was working at a brewery too. Oh, that's 5. Oh, and I was also doing some consulting. Anyway, so I had a handful of jobs just to keep the lights on. And that was a very hard time for a single mother of 2 children. And it pushed me to the brink. Like, it made me go, like, do I bail? Like, do I double down, or do I just bail on this whole industry? Because after that much pain, even my friends in Canada were like, please just go get a real job. Like, this is ridiculous to see you suffering like this. And, I operate under like a very strong belief system, a Christian belief system it's like God doesn't do it to you, does it for you. And this God did it for me, for sure. But I also had a very strong belief that if I push forward on anything and put my all into it and it doesn't work, he will stop me. And it kept happening. It was like a spike belt would go down in front of me with all these things I would try and do, until I stopped. And I'm like, I don't think I'm released from this industry. I think that I'm still here for a reason. And I made a very big decision to double down. I wasn't gonna bail. And so I doubled down, and I made it really important to myself to only work with speakers that I felt resonated in some way with me, that will make something better, will make a person better, will make the world better. Just the whole notion of better became very clear to me, and that I believe in the notion of better. And so if it was a speaker who was there to make money, I was just not into it. If it was a brand new speaker that didn't have the reps, but I knew in my gut that I was supposed to represent them, I would. And I knew that it just, even in the last year or so too, like, it's pretty recent, this whole obvious advantage thing, Brian. Like, I didn't realize how powerful the knowledge I have is for speakers. How life-changing it can be for speakers. I just missed it. Like, I didn't really realize that and my teaching background is coming full circle too, because I love to help people and teach people. And so for me to tap into the things that are just so second nature to me after doing this for over 27 years, and to making that available to speakers who just have a million questions, like, why wouldn't I? And so, I wrote my book in 40 days, released it in October, started it in August. drew on the stuff that I'd been writing since 2012. So I didn't write it from scratch, but I wrote my book, and then I had already done a couple Bookable speakers events with a real like heart pull for legacy speakers, like to see them rise above this quick start speaker in a box. To be very candid, like I want to see the speakers that have been speaking for 10, 20, 30, 40. There was someone in our group who's been on stages for 50 years, Brian. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't know 50 years, but I have an idea who it was. So, okay.
Yeah. Well, he was a mentalist for 50 years, and he's now at this age pivoting to do speaking. So,
well, he's not even a mentalist. The show The Mentalist was based off of him.
He is the mentalist.
Yeah, he's literally the character, and not that his wife was killed by a serial killer, but John Stetson, and we talked about this. He was the person behind The Mentalist, the TV show. That was the consultant on him and everything else. And so when you and I were talking, like, oh, a mentalist will be there. And I'm like, no, The Mentalist, because I freaking love that show. It's on Hulu. I watch it all the time. So I'm like, you're Patrick Jane. Yeah. So
can I get a word in now?
What's that?
Can I talk now?
Sure. Hi, Ed. I didn't know you're still here. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, so I want to clarify and bring it all together. So basically what I'm hearing, basically, like that. Do that in there for you. That you're now an agent. Is that what you're doing now? You're an agency. So is that correct?
It is. And yes, and there's my improv coming out. I'm a manager as well. So I'm a speaker manager insofar as I take a speaker and make sure that their brand is bookable. So that's a real manager type thing. It's kind of like, yes or no, you should or shouldn't have your hair blue for this season.
It's like an agent for an actor or a model or those kind of
I'm a
agents.
manager and an agent. The speaking industry is unique in that we have two in one.
Well, I'm just saying so people understand that's if you're anywhere I'm in California, so we understand that. Plus, when I was younger in the Navy, I was a model and actor. Mm-hmm. I said actress, but I'm an actor. But anyway,
bikini model.
Yes, I was actually. No, but it was so, and that was because that's what you were around in San Diego, and you go up to LA and everything else. It was just different back then. So now you're doing speakers and you're doing management for those speakers. So you're actually helping, you're repping them, but you're also saying this is what you need to do to build your brand as a speaker and going forward. And that's what you're looking for. And you're looking for people to help grow their brand. But you want somebody who's been doing it a while so that they understand the challenges that they've been through to get to where they are. And that's what you're trying to find. So those are the people you're looking for.
100%. That is accurately spoken. Yes. I'm like a 10%er and a 10%er all put into one person, like the agent, the manager, the 10%er. So I take more than 20% actually. But anyway, that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah, we'll have you back again. So we do have to wrap up for today, though. And yes, of course, Ed's going to try and steal you for his other podcast.
No.
Yeah.
I already have her. I'm not going to have to steal her. She already said
I'm already there.
We'll see.
I'm already there. I already gave the nod.
That's right. Yeah, but until you get his list of stuff to get for your podcast, don't go on his.
Well, he wants a book. There's a lot of bartering going on this.
There is.
You know what? I can go online and buy one, right?
Well, I mean, that way you can leave her a review. That would be the really nice thing to do, Ed. I mean, that's what I did.
Well, so what people don't understand is when I have an author on my show, I ask them to send me a book that's signed, and then I buy another one and give it to someone else. So I'm not just a cheap person like Brian. I actually want the signed book for myself, but I also give one away.
Oh, see, I like to read it first and then underline it and then show them that I read the book and then get a signed copy of it. And so
I could just go like this too, but I actually like to read them.
Okay. All right. Well, whatever happens is fine. I don't know about me. So I'm going to have a book sent to you from Amazon, so it's not going to be signed no matter what happens. So I'll have to meet you in person and then I will sign it. I will sign. I'm even holding, well, it's a highlighter, but I'm ready to sign it.
Highlight it for me too.
Mm-hmm. I did that actually for a woman. She's a speaker and she was such a huge supporter of the book. And she wrote an article about me in Forbes.
Wow.
And it was one of the top 5 books or something like that for fall. Yeah. So, but she said, I want you to send it to me. And I said, I'll do you one better. I'm going to read it again. I'm going to read it. I'm going to underline all the stuff that I see in your brand that needs fixing. And so it was, I know.
Wow. That's impressive.
Wow.
Well, she did me a solid. The Forbes thing was huge. So I was happy to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I do know we have to wrap up today. Ed, you want to take us out?
No.
Okay, good. So now we're done with Ed. Well,
Brian,
do you want me to take us out? Like, I'll take you both out.
Yeah. All right, where are we going?
Happy hour.
Christa, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate you coming here and sharing your knowledge with us. It was a lot in what we're here 45 minutes, a lot to get down. We'd like to have you come back so we can break it down even more if that's possible. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes, this is fun. You guys are chill. I like it.
All right, Brian, thanks for being here. Thanks for what you do. And again, thank you everybody else. Thank you for watching, and we do this for you. So if there's the best way you can support us is by going to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and let other people know what we do here. Thank you again, both of you. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.